Let's go. Not telling. So, one of the things as you get to know Kath a whole lot better is she's a really kind person. She just told me that I went too long in the first session by simply saying, "You got your eye on the time?" So, I know what that means, but she says it so nicely. All right, the second part is being an alongside-er. And those two guys there with their combi van, they're alongside-ers. They're sitting together, they're chatting with each other, they're equally handsome, I reckon. Oh, brother, you are my man. That's what I'm a product of. So, we're going to do some alongside-er training. A few years ago, there was a guy by the name of Mick Duncan, who's a pastor, New Zealander, and wrote a book called Alongside-ers, Sitting with Those Who Sit Alone. It had a huge impact of people on people who were working with marginalised folk, and including Stable One. So we got in touch with Mick Duncan and asked him if we could steal his term, and he said, "I'm really pleased for you to steal it." So somebody recently told me, "Well, then you didn't really steal it, did you?" And that's probably true. To use the term alongside-er to describe the role that we have as volunteers within Winter Shelter. Now, the whole concept of alongside-ers has what's known as a community development underpinning. Community development is all about the idea of walking with people who are experiencing disadvantage. And so it's the withness that is really important. I'm walking with you. All of us have something to bring to the table. I can bring to the table whatever I have, and you bring to the table whatever you have. You see, just even in that acknowledgement, you see how that cuts across dehumanisation. It cuts across a feeling of not having any value or worth, because, hey, I'm walking with you. Now, you're not necessarily saying that, but this is the attitude that we have as people coming in to be an alongside-er. I'm walking with you in this. And so all of us have something to bring to the table, and that's out of community development. Another thing that community development says is that the process is really important. Now, it's good to set goals, to have goals of, where we're heading. So in the Winter Shelter program, it might be a goal of, it might even be, accommodation. It's probably not a good goal to have, but it's a great desire to have, that somebody come to find accommodation. But the process of getting there is just as important. In fact, some people in community development circles would say it's more important. The process of getting there is really important, because it's in the process that you build relationships. It's in the process where you create a sense of value and trust. And these are things that a lot of our guests, maybe sometimes have never experienced. Trust in relationships, or that it's been broken. And so to have that process of walking with you, where you can develop a sense of trust and develop a sense of safety, is really, really important. Finding accommodation, the goal, the desire at the end of it, that's important, but the process is really important. Programs are doorways into relationships and community, a sense of belonging to place and people. So, what is an alongside-er? Well, an alongside-er is somebody who comes not as a professional and not as a welfare person, not as an entrepreneur, but as an alongside-er. I'll explain that. Sometimes professional help obviously is needed, you know. Somebody could be referred to a doctor, to a psychologist, to an employment specialist, you know, professionals. And it's really important. The person being helped by a professional is a client, and the approach is clinical with tight boundaries. So, you know, if one of our guests is referred to a psychologist to manage some of the mental health issues, there's going to be boundaries there. That person will go in, talk 50-minute hour is the usual thing with psychology. Talk for the 50 minutes, the person leaves, the door is closed, the boundaries are very tight, but not with an alongside-er. Very different. Some of us may have those professions. Some of us might be psychologists, mental health workers, GPs, you know, various other professional helping roles, but not in the Winter Shelter program. Obviously, our knowledge and experience will be very helpful, but we don't come in. Our role is not that professional role. We might be aware of some referral that's needed, but that's not us. Sometimes a welfare approach is necessary, a Centrelink worker, a welfare coordinator, an NDIS specialist. I have what you need in this instance and I'm going to help you. And there's very clear boundaries with a welfare worker as well. Unfortunately, sometimes people can fall into what I would call an entrepreneurial approach. And there are churches that get sucked into this. Where helping the marginalised can make us look good, you know. We're doing all this stuff over here, but we really need to look good, and there's a lot of social need in our environment, so we're going to get involved in this, and some good can come out of that. But sometimes the goals are certainly not what I don't think is in line with what Jesus is doing. You know, just to simply make us look good. So we need to be really, really careful of that, because it's easy to be sucked into it, you know, easy to be sucked into it. And so be careful. But then there's the alongside-er. And these are some of the key words that are connected to the alongside-er role. Friendship. Now, some people say, oh, no, we're not going to make friends. But remember, there's a lot of different levels of friends, you know. And some people say, oh, but you've got to have boundaries. Well, I say if you have friendship without any boundaries, you've got problems. Because even the best of friends, you know, they have boundaries. They might be really loose and flexible, but they're boundaries. And so friendship is, you know, different levels and different types of friends and so forth. But that's a pretty good word. Jesus said, remember what Jesus said? I no longer call you slaves or servants. I call you friends. Why? Because he said, I've told you everything that I'm doing. Can I paraphrase that even more than Eugene Peterson paraphrases? Because I've been walking alongside of you. I call you my friend, you know. So friendship, obviously relational, that's what we're talking about, you know. Kath and I were both a part of two presentations last week at different times. One from a medical doctor talking about addiction issues, and the other one talking about trauma. And both of them, unbeknown to each other, talked about relationship. That's what it's all about, you know, walking alongside of somebody. There's equality there. I'm not better than you. I mean, I might be able to do some things better than you, but you can do some things better than me, you know. But as far as value is concerned, we're all created in the image of God. We're all bought back with the same price by Jesus, you know. We've all got the same Holy Spirit to be indwelling us. There's not one category of Holy Spirit for me and another one for you. There's equality and value and worth that is really important. Empathy. Understanding the world of the homeless is really, really important. And understanding the world of the homeless is about the idea that this is your world, and I'm not telling you that your world's got to become like my world, you know. I'm not saying to you, you'll be doing really well when you look more like me, or when you're able to do the things that I do, when your world becomes like my world. No, that's arrogance. That's not what we're saying. And so we need to have empathy into another person's world. That's not saying that it's all okay, because it's not. As what I gave as an example before about a person going to an employment and saying, he told me what to do, and that one. Well, that's not okay. That person needs to learn that that's a supervisor's role. and so, your world has to change because of that. But understanding that person's world is really important. Understanding where that sense of dislike of being told what to do, where does that come from? So understanding the other person's world, empathy. Empathy has some people talking against it, even in Christian circles in recent years, and there's been a couple of books come out by Christian authors about toxic empathy and so forth, and what's that Tesla bloke's name? He came out and he mentioned empathy is the worst thing that civilised society's ever known. Well, obviously they don't understand empathy. Empathy is not saying your world's okay because now I understand it. Empathy is wanting to know. Carl Rogers, psychologist, said that empathy is all about feeling into the other person's world as if it were your own, but without losing the as-if quality. Very important. Feeling into another person's world, understanding it, as if it is your own. Let me try to understand that. Let me hear more about that, but without losing the as-if quality. That world doesn't become mine because you lose your objectivity. Objectivity is very important in empathy, but so is subjectivity. Understanding the other person's world while retaining my world. Because from your world you can say, okay, I've listened to what you're saying about that. I got another perspective on it. Would you mind if I just shared that with you? This is how I see things, what you're talking about. Love to hear what you think about my perspective. It's dialogue, isn't it? It's conversation, which is really important. Yeah, I've got to watch my time. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. But I got to drive back to where my wife is and with her. And then she'll tell my wife he didn't watch his time. And then, yeah, I can see the clock. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. You're feeling it as if it were your own world, but get on with it. I like you people. You're nice. Have no idea where I'm up to. Yeah, mutuality and solidarity, standing with people, and strengths and assets. That's that community development stuff that all of us have, strengths and assets. Some people who have been down and out for a while, who have suffered in homelessness or whatever, feel like they have nothing left to offer. And we need to help people understand their strengths and their assets. Obviously caring, flexible boundaries. Flexible boundaries is a big one. You really need to work out what you're comfortable with as far as boundaries are concerned in walking with people, such as the guests at Winter Shelter. Sharing of a mobile phone number, well, that's up to you. The good thing about mobile phones is that you don't have to answer them. So they don't control you, you control it. Giving out your home address, I don't advise that. I don't think that's necessarily helpful. So for me, that's a boundary. But other people might disagree with that, and that's fine. You've got to work out what's best for you and for your family in those boundaries. Restorative justice is really important, not just punitive justice, and this comes into the whole area of what do we do when things go wrong? When there's a guest who is aggressive, when there's a guest who makes the winter shelter venue feel unsafe for other people. What do we do? Well, that's got to be dealt with, because we're talking about safety and belonging for everybody, not just for that one person. So you do have to deal with these things. You de-escalate situations by building relationships with the person and you know, being calm and gentle and all those things in de-escalation. But sometimes there's got to be discipline. But it needs to be done within what we call a culture of grace. It needs to be done with restoration in mind. So restorative justice is really important. What we're doing is walking together as people on a journey. So what are the characteristics that are needed of an alongside-er? Well, the good news is there's no experts that are needed. Experts in love, experts in building relationship, but there's no experts. You know, there's no homelessness certificate that is needed for this. Remember that the communication that you have with this other person is really important. The tongue has the power of life and of death. Proverbs. In other words, the words that you use and the way that you say them can help another person feel glad that they're alive or wish they were dead. And, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful for every one of our winter shelter venues to be known as a place of life? You know, to be known as a place where I go to that place and I feel like I'm alive. You know? That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? That's what we long for. It's what we long for all of our churches, you know. It would be great. But the Winter Shelter program, a place of life. All levels of conversation are important. You don't have to dive in deep, you know. You use what one psychologist talked about as cliche communication. G'day, how you going? Oh, good, thanks. You know, how are you? Oh, good, yeah. How was your day? Oh, you know, well, in Australian actually it would be, g'day, how are you going? Oh, not too bad. Yeah, how was your day? Oh, it wasn't too bad, really, you know. Yeah, what did you get up to? Oh, not too much. So that level of conversation is really important. If conversations never get beyond that, well, you're not going to get into deep and meaningful stuff, but, you know, it's a good place to be. And there'll be plenty of that. But the other levels of conversation as you get into talking about feelings and talking about thoughts, well, that's pretty heavy stuff. And if you get into that, then it's good. You know, people start opening up to you. Remember that it's going to take time for most people to build trust. And that's really important in levels of conversation. Listening and responding is really important. I'll just give you one example of that. There's a lot of conversations is people having two monologues. So this person says, hey, you know, I went and saw my son Jimmy playing football the other day and boy did he star. Oh, my son doesn't play footy, he plays basketball and I went to his game the other day and he wasn't very good. Oh, my Jimmy, I tell you, he overcame, you know, those... sorry, I'm talking AFL. Try to understand my world on this one, brother. But I'm not going to understand yours. And so he keeps on talking about his son, and he keeps on talking about his son, and there's two monologues going on, you know, and a lot of conversation is about that. Take notice next time you're listening to people. But what we want to do is we want to get a dialogue going. And so, oh man, you know, I went and saw my son Jimmy the other day and he kicked a couple of goals and it was fantastic. Wow, you must be so proud of him. You know, where did he start his training? Oh, his training started a fair bit ago. Oh, you know, that's what it takes, isn't it? That's jolly good. Were you a footballer yourself? Yeah. So you've got a dialogue going on, you know, and it's a lot more healthy, and it helps a person feel like what they're saying is important. When you've got two monologues, it doesn't. You've got a dialogue. It's called revolving discussion sequence. That's the professional term for it. And it just means that we're having a dialogue together. And so, you know, practice that in the winter shelter. It's really, really important. Empathy, I've already talked about. Genuineness and warmth. Those of you who have studied counselling, you'll probably notice that's known as the therapeutic triad. Empathy, genuineness and warmth. I want to go on to one thing here. I hope I've got it. Yep, I do. Kath, you're going to be so proud of me. That's important. We work within what we call what is known as the Circle of Courage. The Circle of Courage, as you can see, is a circle divided into 4 quadrants. This comes out of American Indian culture for transitional work with American Indian young people. It's since it was developed, it's moved a lot further than that, and it's had a lot of impact in a lot of areas. But these are really good for setting goals within the winter shelter. And you'll notice the sense of belonging. Well, we've already talked about that. A sense of feeling, I belong to this place and I belong to this people. A sense of belonging. Really, really important. I reckon if that's the only thing that happens during a winter shelter program, you've done a lot that Jesus would appreciate to the people he identifies with. Mastery is the idea of becoming good at something I've always wanted to become good at. It might be, for the guests that you have, it might be hygiene issues. You know, I've never known how properly to clean my teeth. I've never been showed. What do you do? Mastering that is a good thing. Or it may be all the way through to, yeah, you're right, I can't read and I really want to read. So literacy, numeracy, computer skills, artistic skills, use of art with people who are experiencing homelessness, with people who are feeling valueless, and so use of art, fantastic. And so mastery at something that I've always wanted to do might be a very simple thing or a quite complicated. Independence is moving beyond entitlement. Independence is I recognise that it's my responsibility to pull my socks up. It's my responsibility. I've been blaming everybody else, and there may be a lot of fault on other people's part that's brought me to this point, but I'm responsible to make my decisions and to make my choices to move beyond this. It's not your responsibility, it's not my parents or the government or whatever, it's my responsibility. So that's the idea of independence. Notice that it's independence within a community. So it's not I'm out on my own, but it's independence within a community of which I'm feeling a part of. And generosity is the feeling that now I have something to be able to give back. And we see that, don't we, in the winter shelter program, the wonder of our guests coming and saying, oh, you know, I could help you with those dishes, you know. Oh, no, that's okay. We've got them. No, I really want to do something for you. You know, a sense of generosity. It's wonderful. It's 11:30. I've finished.
Okay. Another round of applause. Wow. So, guys, while we're setting up for the Q&A, again, you get to have a stretch, but I just want to just highlight a couple of things, if that's okay. The interesting thing I wondered about the empathy, David, I actually wrote a paper myself when I was doing some studies, and empathy versus sympathy. Completely two worlds. Completely two different worlds. People don't need you to feel sorry for them. They need you to walk alongside of them. And sometimes we can get into that point, and sometimes sympathy can take us there, where empathy, and that actually empathy loses its impact, which is really important. But just going to throw a couple of things out there. As you could see, particularly with the Yarra guys, because they're very privileged, they had a logo. We don't. But I've been thinking, I was going to jump on AI and I was going to do all, but I'm thinking, why do I have to do that? I'm sure we've got a room full of graphic artists. So I'm just actually throwing it out there as a challenge. Who would like to do us a logo? Come up with a logo. If prayer's your thing, take it to God and say, listen, what would be a good logo for the Nambour Winter Shelter? And we'd love to hear from you, but we just need it done by June 10. Actually, no, June 12th, that's fine. Yeah. No, but it would be great if you've got any sort of creative ability. But the other thing I want to throw out there, because I know I'm looking around the room and I'm sort of looking to that part of the room and partially this front section. We have some incredible musicians in the room as well. And I'd love to see a bit of an AI music tribute, maybe to homelessness or to winter shelters. You guys can do a song and whack it on AI and it comes up with this. I think someone did it at the conference. Actually, someone come up with a song. Was it at the conference? There was an AI song at the conference or something. Yeah, so if that's your gig, have a shot. Give it a crack. Good news. Great news. I've already had 2 of our host churches come to me and saying they've got venue coordinators from today, which is fantastic. So thank you so much for that. And just a couple of other things. I'm not sure where we stand on this, and I'm not sure how much announcement's been made around the conference. Can we mention it? It's September? No, November. Do you want to talk about it? You want to talk to it? Listen to this. This is exciting.
Well, we've always had a national conference and it's always been in Melbourne, but there's stuff happening in Queensland. So I asked my board, I said, I think we really need to have a Queensland conference too. And they said yes. So very exciting. So I'm pretty sure if you look up the 7th of November, I think that's the Saturday, we usually do a dinner the night before and then the conference full day on the Saturday. And I've been at Flame Tree Church and that looks to be the venue for this year with the support of the council as well. So thank you. Yeah, it'll be great. We'll have some speakers and lots of things happening. So yeah, come along.
So November, and because you only got a very small part of what David shares generally, so he'll be, I'm sure, sharing on that day. What was, Catherine, you had something else? Okay, we'll keep you informed on what that all looks like in that context as well. Another thing, I had a phone call before I went down to do the wedding on Thursday, and it was from the HOT team. And for those who don't know what HOT stands for, Homeless Health Outreach Team, which mainly work particularly in the homelessness area, but in the mental health area very strongly. They've actually now offered to all our winter shelter participants free courses with working with people with mental health. So they've opened up their doors and said, Dale, we would love to come and do some training around mental health. So I think we need to take that up. It's always a good thing to know. So we will also keep you informed with that as well. But also, part of being an affiliate, which we now are, until the council pays our bill again next year, we will also, there's also videos available that we will be showing over the time. And there is David and there's a whole bunch of people on those videos sharing things around winter shelter. Can we, and we're going to get these guys up on stage now, if would be great, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. So I'm hoping you've written a whole ton of questions down that you want to ask them. But can we give these guys another round of applause? Yep, and lunch has arrived, which is really good, so we would love you to stay. There's plenty of food out there. The exciting thing about this food is that David actually brought up in that circle there, which was good, some independence. And I didn't know that, but it's a great segue. You've actually got to go out there and make your own sandwich. That's how it's set up. So there's going to be food out there, but you get to make your own sandwich. We thought that would be the best way. We didn't know if we had vegans in the room or vegetarians in the room, or you just are all just carnivores. We had no idea. Yes, amen to that. Yeah, so that's going to be happening out there. As soon as we get this over and done with, we'll make our way out there. And then also, it's a great way to put into practice what you're going to be doing in the shelter. Find someone you do not know. Don't hang with someone at lunchtime that you know, because that's too easy. Find someone you don't know, get to know them, and find out a little bit of information, and we will test you at the end of lunch. Okay? All right.